Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Knife Guys. So what are we talking about today? I cannot believe that I have never talked about this. I can't believe in 200 episodes this topic has never come up, because it's something that people have been talking about for a very, very long time. And that topic is, when we're looking at a knife that is extremely popular amidst users, enthusiasts, and general collectors, it is so popular that even if they're capable of producing, large batches, they sell out unbelievably fast. There's massive, fierce competition for people to buy these things, right? When we're talking about knives like that, sometimes people ask the question, or they state things like, I really, it makes me angry that I have to compete with all these collectors and enthusiasts because I'm actually going to use it, implying that people who are actually going to use it, should be put first in line. But this was brought up by somebody in the comments, and I'm not upset about this. I think it's a really good idea to talk about this. And I chatted with the guy who was super nice. So I'm very much thankful for the opportunity to discuss this. I don't disagree. Well, okay, let me say this. I think this statement has merit on the surface most level. I absolutely do. I think there's a little bit of merit there, and I think that a lot of times it comes from people who are full of crap. But in this case, I really think that this was coming from somebody who truly was going to use the knife and was like, sometimes these drops are frustrating because there's lots of people here who are just, gonna put them on a shelf and look at it. And I really want to use it. And I don't, if I don't get one, I hate feeling like I'm missing out on it because somebody else grabbed one who's just going to look at it, right? There's merit to that surface level argument. There is, absolutely. The problem is actually implementing something I think is ridiculous, right? So I'm going to present my thoughts on that, but I want to be very clear. I think this is a good topic. I think this is something that this is the type of topic that I like to discuss. So I'm going to tell you guys what I think, then you can tell me what you think. So same thing as usual. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. To kind of create the foundation of this. Well, not even create the foundation. It's just sort of what I have laid out on the table are a whole bunch of knives that are perfect examples of what I'm talking about. These knives are all insanely difficult to get your hands on. And they are, the buyers, the competing buyers are from the user community, the enthusiast community, and the collector community. Now, let's get this clear so that we don't separate these. It's, as I stated in a video, 4 or 5 years ago, about the sort of the triangle of the different communities. Very few people are purist in any, very few people are pure users or pure collectors or pure enthusiasts. The vast majority of us are both. And most of you watching right now, if you're watching my channel, you probably own more than one knife. You probably own a knife that's probably a little bit overkill, right? You probably paid for enthusiast elements. There's a little bit of collector in you, even if you don't want to admit it, right? Even if you're taking pictures of your dirty knife sitting on top of your lawnmower on Instagram just so everybody knows that you use your knife, right? But listen, I do believe obviously people use expensive knives, and those very same people buy those expensive knives not just for their utilitarian elements, they buy them for the enthusiast elements. Hinderer knives, for example, those knives have enthusiast elements 100%. There is no argument to be made otherwise. Do they make good tools? Yes. But if you're paying $425 for a pocket knife, you are definitely, at least part of you is a knife enthusiast. You have breached into the territory. There's no confusion. It's not like, oh God, I walked into Home Depot looking for a just an inexpensive utilitarian folder, and by golly, I don't know what happened. I found myself, at Rick Hinderer's shop at the ranch, and I was paying $425 for a knife. What happened? No, nobody. That's never happened to anybody, right? So as ridiculous as the scenario as that is, you can't argue against it. These are folding knives that appeal to people who appreciate enthusiast elements. Now, you may not be a collector. You could say, okay, but if I just buy one, that doesn't mean I'm a collector. True. My point is that people are hybridizations, right? People like to present themselves as purist this or purist that. But again, as I've stated before, another thing that I've said many times, whatever foundation you feel like you have that's like firm and solidified, I'm a creature of habit, right? People like to say that about themselves. All of that can be blown apart so easily. Just like one shiny thing that's different from what you thought you liked, or one thing that has an element that you said you would never appreciate. You won't until you will, right? Yeah. Your foundation's made of wicker and like silly putty and cotton. It's nothing. As soon as there's something that is, you're just like, oh, I like it. Like, you'll just throw all of this other stuff away that you've, built that you feel like represents who you are and what you stand for when it comes to the knives that you will or won't buy. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm talking about when it comes to knives, right? We consistently prove ourselves wrong. Most people are hybridizations, okay? So, is it more or less fair? Well, here's the one thing I'll say for sure, right? Here's what I don't like. And I've talked about this before. I still believe this. I don't like people, like, especially when we have people who have bot programs that are set up to snag these things, right? That absolutely does happen. That's not like it's just a rumor. That 100% happens. There are people who use they use software to grab these things super fast, lightning fast, for the sole purpose of flipping them. Are there people who use programs like that to grab these things and either use or collect them? Yeah, sure. There's tons of people, right? I'm sure that happens. But a lot of times people use this stuff to, grab this stuff and then throw it up on eBay and make 50, 100, $150. That absolutely happens. I don't like that, right? There's nothing that I can do about it, but I don't like it. Do I think that it would do... Let me say this. If I could push a button and get rid of all of those people, right? I just had like a genie, and the genie's like, what do you want? I'm like, listen, everybody else is fine, but those people who keep grabbing this stuff and putting it up on eBay, can we just like make it so they cannot do it? Like, just use like magic to where they try, and then their internet just gives them like a pixelated middle finger. Can we do that? He's like, yeah. I would definitely do that and not feel bad about it at all. Like, no part of me. I would wake up every day and I'd stretch and I'd, wow, what a great day. I'm definitely not caring or thinking about the people who can't buy Hinderer knives and then flip them on eBay. Absolutely no part of me would care at all. I'd go about my day. But let's talk about everybody else. Enthusiast, collector, user, right? Who should go first? Who should get to go first? A lot of people, it's a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, the people are actually going to use them, of course. I use my stuff. I'm a knife user. I'm a man of simple things, okay? Just get up, go to work, get the job done. Eat a steak and potatoes, pet the dog, go to sleep, do it again. Okay, I use my stuff. I'm a user. Get my knife and use it for tasks. Get the job done. Yeah, right? You get it, right? It's a big Ford commercial. Great. Are those people more important than people who want to buy the knives to collect them? The knee-jerk reaction is yes. That's what people immediately want to say, right? Because the people, who use their stuff, they don't like people who don't use it, right? Or use it in the way that they feel like it should be used. When it comes to this argument, truthfully, the biggest arguments come between the collector, enthusiast, and user community, or people, like, if you lean mostly into the user side or mostly into the collector, enthusiast side, right? The biggest arguments are between those groups of people. But those groups of people who will argue are very, very small in contrast to the larger community. The vast majority of the community regardless of where you place yourself, are pretty level-headed and they just don't really care, right? The vast majority of collectors are not really concerned with what people who like to use their knives are doing, and the vast majority of people who use their knives are not really concerned with what the collectors are doing. There's just select groups of people who really believe that they represent a larger community than what they really do. But when it comes down to those people who will argue, it's usually the collector people kind of minding their own business until somebody from that hardcore user community comes over and it's like, you should be doing what I think you should be doing with your property, even though you paid for it and I didn't. That's usually what happens. And as dumb as that sounds, that's the actual argument that's being presented. That's basically, it's the Kool-Aid man coming in. Never once has someone who is generally considered themselves a collector or enthusiast stomped into the user community, wherever that is, right? I mean, again, these are very, very small. Like, a lot of people are joking, like, he acts like these are, like, well-established. No, I'm joking because these are not, it's literally just fringe groups of, like, really unhinged people with hot takes, right? Imagine you got a collector. I'm a collector. How dare you fools? You think these are utilitarian cutting apparatuses? Nay, I say, these are art and can only be considered art. You all should not be using these things in this manner. You should be putting them up on shelf. That's never happened. It's literally only ever been, people who are just mad that somebody else has something that they want and they're not using it the way that they feel like it should be used, right? So let's imagine for a second we could actually implement this. How would you do that? I solemnly swear, right? It's just like an online form. I solemnly swear that I will use this cutting apparatus to the full extent of its abilities. I will cut wood and rubber and I will pry the doors off of bomb shelters. Like, how extreme? What kind of use? Where are we? What qualifies you, right? Number one, people who are actually going to use it, right? I mean, we're kind of like glossing over the fact that these are just people who are like, I should be more important. Like, that in a nutshell, that's what's being said. I'm more important, right? But if we dig a little bit deeper, what happens after? Let's say we got that same genie, and I'm like, hey, genie, listen, I got another request, and he's like, what? You got some dumb requests. Let's get it over with. I'm like, listen, I want to make it so that only people who are gonna use their knives, right, get to go first every single time, and everybody else has to wait. And the genie's like, all right, I guess we'll go ahead and implement this. So at that point, like, what is it that the genie's doing to determine who qualifies? Well, I'll tell you what you shouldn't do is just ask the general knife community, because guess what you're going to get in this scenario? You're going to get, literally, you ask a million different people, you're going to get a million different answers. A lot of people are going to say, I mean, if not a million different answers, you're going to get a lot of answers that are the same. A lot of people are going to say, well, you put it in your pocket and then you use it when you need to cut something, which is what I would say. That defines user. That's what I say. And you can't change my mind. And you're welcome to try. In fact, I want you to. I want you to leave a comment because it helps the algorithm. And I also want this discussion furthered, right? But to me, a knife that is used is a knife that you put in your pocket, and then when a cutting task arises, you use the knife for said cutting task, right? A lot of people on the extreme side will define use as taking a knife out and using it for extended periods of time to process materials that a knife would normally process. I think it's also, obviously, it's more, specific, but a good definition of a user. Then you have, the lawnmower guys, who is just like, and they need people to know that they use their stuff, right? Squeeze a bunch of motor oil all over it, get dirt all over it. They take a brick and grind it into, they snap the tip off, right? Who does that sound like? And they take a picture, hashtag user, you're right. I'm joking around. I know that there are people who do use their stuff with sort of a kind of a disregard, almost like a proud disregard for the long-term integrity of the object, right? And that sounds crazy, but that is actually a thing. People pride themselves on not taking care of their stuff, not maintaining their stuff in a way that allows the item to visually show use. You ain't use your stuff, looks clean. Look at that blade, it's clean. Huh? That blade's too clean to be used. And see my knife. My blade ain't even got a blade anymore. It's just a rusty stump. Because I use my stuff. And I'm like, well, do you carry that? Yeah. Been carrying it for years. You carry around it's just a handle with a rusty stump in your pot. What do you use it for? Doesn't matter. It's a user. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that people do that, right? You should take care of your stuff, right? Just because a blade is clean doesn't mean it's not getting used. It more than likely means that the person whose property it is maintaining it. Because most of the time when you maintain your knives, they do look new, even though they are used. That's proper maintenance, right? Carrying around a tipless, blunted, rusty piece of metal is actually not only, kind of a waste of the potential, long-term integrity of the item, but it's also kind of dangerous, right? Those things are those types of blades are the ones that slip and then cut you, and it's also rusty because I never oil it, and whoops, right? So it's just dumb, right? But that mentality is spread. It's got its roots in because for whatever reason people think that way. Fine, think however you want, right? You can tell me that you don't like that you feel personally attacked by this. That's fine. But I can sit here and say it to you because we're all on YouTube, right? So you got this problem where this genie's like, I don't really know how, which user crowd is right, because you got all these people saying that using your stuff, right? There's different definitions. You got people who are like, well, I'll use it, but I'm obviously not going to hand it to Tim because Tim's an idiot, right? Tim will take he tried to dig a soda can out of the pop machine with it. I'm not going to give him a knife, right? Okay, so what would you... Well, if somebody had to cut open a box or something, I'm going to cut open a box. But if somebody's like, hey, can I dig these staples out of this, this 2x4 with your knife? I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And then you got somebody on the other side going, what? You won't dig a staple out of it? Why even carry a pocket knife? You're not going to use it to dig staples out. Well, because the problem is you dig the blade under there and you're blunting part of the blade. Well, so what? Well, I want my blade considered... Well, that's crazy, right? Well, that's why I use a utility knife. That's what happens. You got all these things. Look down in the comments right now. There's already a whole bunch of that. It's already there. You got that. That's the problem. The definition of user is different for so many different people. If you were able to just cut a specific, it's these people right here who are not putting it in their pocket. They're not doing anything with it. They're just putting it on a shelf, or they're putting it in a case like that freaking Metal Complex guy. And I hate that guy, right? It's those people. You shove them off, right? Okay, now you just have the user. All right. Now it's just the people who are going to use it, whether they're just putting it in their pocket and cutting open envelopes, or they're hardcore digging trenches and infiltrating structures and using it like a grappling hook, right? The people who are going to turn it into a rusty stump. You got all those people there. They might not agree with each other. They get to go first, right? Let me ask you, how many times have you seen somebody who's into Hinder knives who has more than one? Do you need more than one? No. But the people who have more than one, I'm one of them. They have a lot, right? Hard to call yourself, hard to pretend that you're not a collector, right? Again, most of these people are hybrids. Some of them, it's like some people who collect a lot, they're like, oh, I use them all, right? You're still collecting them, but you're using them all. And there's people from that user community who would believe I should go first because I'm actually going to use it, right? Who would get mad at somebody who has 6 of them but uses all of them. Well, okay, that's fine. You use them all, but do you need 6? I should get to go before you. The problem is it all boils down to just selfishness, because as soon as you get what you want, you no longer care about the reasoning, the morality of it, right? It doesn't even matter. When people say that, they're just saying, I want to go first because I want it, right? That's what they're saying. You're not saying I have a firm belief that People who use their stuff they have the right to go. Oh, I got mine. All right, see you later, idiots. Good luck standing in line. Bye. That's what people do. Right? You're not going to stand there and continue to fight. You got yours. You're going to leave, right? So it's not possible. I think, ironically, what would happen is that all of those people who just wanted one so they could use it, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them would be like, dang, these are cool. I kind of want another one. I kind of want to collect them now. But no, you can't. You can't now because but I can because I'm still going to use it, right? But, I mean, I don't even have one yet. And you've got two, even though you're using them, right? So then you got all these arguments again, right? How is it that you're going to prove, like, do you have to take a picture of it sitting on top of your lawnmower covered in oil? Like, I used it. See, I told you guys, right? And then after you submit the picture, like, oh God, my new Hinder knife, I gotta make it shiny again, yeah. And then you put it on a shelf, right? Everybody's just gonna lie. Everybody's just gonna lie. I believe there were lots of companies who originally, I'm not saying just Hinder knives, because I can't remember what the deal was, but there were lots of companies a long time ago who had like maybe at shows, it was like first come, first serve, but like the ones that popped up on the website were you had to like prove that you were military or law enforcement in order to buy them, and people were faking their LEO background. They're just faking it. People will lie. That's the problem. You cannot implement it. A lot of the people who say stuff like that are full of crap. A lot of people who say, I'm actually going to use it, I should get to go first, right? Or that's not true at all. Or they just want it, right? My official take on this, everybody has the right to purchase this stuff. Whether you are a user, a collector, an enthusiast, right? Nobody's more or less important. That's imaginary. And for those of you who stuck around to the end, I have to drive this point home. And it's a comment that I said to this other gentleman who, again, I actually appreciate the conversation. This guy was really nice. And I, the foundation of this, or the surface level, I shouldn't say the foundation, on the surface, this is not an unreasonable thing to think or say, right? To say that people who are going to use it should go first. It's unreasonable to say people who are not going to use it shouldn't be allowed to buy it. That's just dumb. That's just a dumb thing. That's a dumb thought that you've had, and it's all right. Just meditate on it, scrub it from your brain, and then move on. But thinking that people who are actually going to use their stuff should get to go first, there's arguments to be made. It's debatable, but it's not an unreasonable argument to bring to the table. I don't agree with it, but it's not an unreasonable argument, right? There's a difference there. I think it's important to make that distinction. This implies that the necessity of the object is absolute. Meaning, they should get to go first because they're going to use it, and they're going to use it because they need it. It's a tool that they're going to need, right? So, are we pretending that there are no other knives on Earth available? I mean, I'm somebody who likes to buy knives that are not just 100, not just 500, not just 1,000, but sometimes multiple thousands of dollars. And I'm not trying to flex. I'm telling you this because as somebody who likes to buy that stuff, I am fully aware that the point of diminishing returns as far as how much you're spending versus how much utility there is in the knife, that stops at about 150 to 200, right? Right around where the Ritter Hogue is, right? There's no part of me that actually believes that I'm gaining some crazy, absolutely superior level of utility from a $425 Hinder knife. No, I'm buying it because I like it. Is it a good tool? Yes. Is it a durable tool? Yes. Will it last a long time? Yes. But there are an infinite number of knives that are readily available that will do the exact same thing. So you need to go first because why? Because you're going to use it. Because I need it. I need a tool. Okay. There are lots of tools out there. You can buy a cold steel American lawman right now for $1/4 the price that will last you just as long. I am a huge Hinderer fan, but I'm not going to pretend for a second that the $100 cold steel American lawman won't last just as long, if not longer, because of the triad lock, right? Cold steel fans coming in. Yeah, brother! No. I disagree. I think if you're there and you're not there to flip it, it doesn't really matter. And there's no way to say, because everybody's going to argue and say, you're not going to use it the way that I think you should use it. You don't qualify as a user because you're not part of the user community, brother. Brother. You're never going to be one of us, even though we argue amidst ourselves. Whatever your reason is. All right. Number one, if you think you are a purist in any category, I would call your bluff on that. I'd say if you're here watching my channel, it's already too late. You're already a hybrid, right? Which means you wouldn't qualify. No matter what your argument is, you wouldn't qualify, not according to a true purist user, right? We're hybridizations, right? We all have our own reasons, right? Most of the time, the base reasoning is because shiny, because want. Itchy, I want it. That's what it is. It's just a primal, like, no! This guy, I watched this guy using the metal complex. He made me want it. I want to get it. He said I have to get it. That's what it is. And I do that to myself, right? I'm making this content and I'm just constantly surrounded by this stuff. Like, I want it too, you know? So, I don't think so. I think if you show up and you're not there to flip it, it doesn't matter who goes first. But, thank you for listening to my very long argument. I do want to hear what you think. Thanks so much for watching. This was a really fun one for me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like. So check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.